Peter Melton. I recently saw a show on Fridays for the Future, and it featured this group called earthheroes.org. They invited us to share our ideas, so here's mine. I have an idea for a new hand signal, a new way to tell each other that we get it, that we're in this together. I call it the unity sign. It starts with the two-finger peace sign. The fingers come together to your heart and then back out. It's called the unity sign, and what it stands for is we used to think we were separate from each other and from the planet, but we are remembering that we're one and that we're all in this together. And when we act from that connected place, we can create peace on the planet. Please share the unity sign, weave it into your own project, post your videos here and other places. We can start a wave of unity on this planet.
Extinction Rebellion, Santa Cruz, California. We are singing and dancing for the animals of all kinds, for the humans, young and old. Yes, indeed, Santa Cruz, California. This is Extinction Rebellion. We want to stay alive. We're willing to dance for life. Yes. Woo! Zebras, chipmunks, little red foxes. Foxes, rainbow foxes. We got them all. Hey, here comes some more. Dance with us. Yes, indeed. We are dancing for life. We are in a climate emergency. We need to take action. One of the actions is we need to dress up and have fun, for God's sake. We want to protect the planet so our animal friends can survive, so our oceans and ice caps can keep creating habitat for us all. Extinction Rebellion is a global movement that started in Europe. We have a big group here in Santa Cruz. Please pick up a flyer. Stop by at the tent. There's a big event coming up on March 20th where we have local politicians, spiritual leaders, artists, writers, and a couple hundred of you and I to talk about this climate emergency. Figure out how we support each other. Staying alive.
Let's hear it for the animals!
Give it up for our animal kingdom! Yeah! All shapes and sizes and colors and furry stuff all over them.
Want to say hi?
Hello!
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Environmental Coffee House. I am Sandy Schoelles with Jennifer Hynes, and we have a special guest tonight, Peter Melton, and he is a dreamer, he's an activist, and he's an author. And we are really happy to have you with us, Peter. Thank you for joining. Jennifer, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Sandy. I've had a pretty good week, and I'm really ready for this conversation here with Peter tonight.
Great.
Peter and I have known each other for about 5.5 years, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah,
well, that's really
it's
cool.
been a spell
Yeah.
since the olden days of Extinction Radio.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So you do
So
have
what
a
a
lot
pleasure to
catch
be on
up
the show. Well, fortunately, we've been able to stay in touch over the years, off and on. I even got to come see her out in Boulder, and that was
That's
fun a
right.
few years back.
Me
Yeah.
too. So,
Great to be on the show with you guys, and
thank you.
you've done such good work carrying on and spreading the questions and the answers and the insights, and it's an honor to be here with you.
That's
Well,
great to
thank
see
you.
ya.
Jennifer and I are really happy to have you on. So, why don't you both get into the swing of something, and I'll do a little sharing here on Facebook and get started. Tell us about yourself. And also about how you guys met. Everything would be cool.
Yeah, well, we met through Extinction Radio. I remember hearing her be the guest on a Extinction Radio show. I think it was the second or third show they ever did back in 15. And I'm like, wow, that chick's got it together. And I sent her an email, I think. It's just like, wow, she's going for it. I got to be in touch with this gal. And we just realized we had a lot in common and that we both were very much into feeling into what's going on here. And it was such a fascinating time back in 15 where it was this information was just starting to be broadcast through these new mediums where people were starting to share and groups were starting to form to say, wow, have you heard about this climate collapse stuff? So fascinating times.
Yeah, it sure was. Sure was. And that was like an eternity ago in terms of like climate change and activism. 5.5 years ago, there was not as much information out as there is today. There were only a couple of podcasts going on at that time. And Extinction Radio was a real citizens sort of radio where everybody contributed and shared their feelings and information.
Yeah,
so
time.
What was your role with it, Peter? What did you do?
Well, first off, hats off to Mike Farragon for launching that and daring to keep putting out there. Here's what people are thinking. Here's what people are saying, and daring to put Guy McPherson's information out as far as he could share it, and daring people to ask what might be going on here, Whether you believe all that we're talking about or not, there's a question at least that got sparked in people's minds. And I don't have to believe anybody that I'm listening to, but something in me is asking me to ask, what do I believe in at least? And so many of us, obviously 99% of the people have never even looked into, what depth of things were happening with feedback loops and Arctic stuff and all these things. And here's Jennifer talking about the Arctic and McPherson and Wadhams and Beckwith and all these guys who were daring to say, hey, something's happening here. And so I got fascinated right off the bat. And then I got involved with Guy McPherson and helping to do some tours with him, which was fascinating to go out and have him share with people what he saw coming. And all along those early years, it was like, wow, this is the beginning, but this is going to move down. This is going to continue to grow, and more people are going to share what they're learning and find out new things. And I do remember one time talking with a group of people saying, someday this is going to be on everybody's going to be talking about this, right? There's going to be a moment where it tips over and our own tipping point, where people are like, uh-oh, I think we need to talk about this now. And I think we find ourselves in that zone now.
Yeah.
So fascinating. And with Extinction Radio, Extinction Radio, I just wanted to be more involved. So I started sharing, and then I started doing interviews, and then Mike was ready to have a break, and Gene Gibson, and blessings to Gene. He's dealing with a whole bunch of health stuff right now, and blessings to you, Gene, if you get a chance to see this, because Gene stepped up, and Ivy Cohn and I ran the series 2 of Extinction Radio back in late 15 through 16, and that was wonderful to get to interview all these people and dare to be somebody who's just throwing the question out and daring to question myself. What do I think is real? How am I sitting with this information, right? Back when very few people were talking about it. So that lives on here. Years later, it's still that cutting edge. Everybody's in their own place, right? Everyone's in their own part of the rite of passage, individual and collective rite of passage. And so here we are, urging forward into the next question.
Seems like Extinction Radio had a lot of talent, Jennifer. Jennifer's talent was also amazing on Extinction Radio. The pieces she did, I said, I want to be like her when I grow up. I'm almost starting to grow up a little bit because of Jen. It's mutual admiration night.
Yeah, well.
Well, yeah, well, then Jen came on. You came on after that, or Mike came back for a little bit, and then you came on to play a big role.
I did. I kind of co-managed Extinction Radio and co-interviewed and co-video produced. Well, actually, single video produced for a couple of years. And golly, I guess it must have been from about 2017 to about 2019. Does that sound about right? It's about 2 years or so. And it was an amazing experience, really, because I love being involved in a position where I can talk with people like Peter Wadhams, like Stuart Scott, like Guy McPherson, like many, many different famous scientists, Derek Jensen and Darjamal and all these people. And it's been quite an adventure, and there's such a froth and ferment with all these people, and we all kind of are on each other's shows and share ideas and share news. And I think the community at large, in the greater sense of the word, has really evolved over the years.
Oh, it's really, Jennifer, we were talking about this the other day. It's like to look back now and to begin to tell the story of this whole culture, this whole community of doomers, call us what you might, right? When we started way back, we were trying to call it climate reality aware pioneers. We were crap. We were crappers.
Oh dear.
Say that. Climate
reality awareness pioneers.
Crappers. I'm proud to be a crapper.
Proud to be a crapper.
God. And it's
and of course,
serious stuff.
Of course, the premise with all of these shows, and the common thing that we saw, and kind of what held us together in a sort of dysfunctional way, I guess, was that everybody understood what abrupt climate change was, and what that implied, and because we had that awareness, the connections between people were quite immediate and intense, because everybody had a common understanding what is happening, and what the consequences of total climate breakdown are.
Yeah, you hit that. There's a really powerful community sense, and there were so many more people, of course, that were playing into this community, not wanting to leave anybody out, but there were so many people who dove in and helped to create this community where people could talk to other like-minded people and feel like they weren't being judged and they weren't crazy, and other people are talking about this, and oh my God, there's 1,000 listeners to this thing, or that there was a sense that, oh my God, I'm not alone. And that still shows up today in times I have talks with people. That
Sure it does. There's a lot of people that just don't want to. I mean, especially now with our COVID pandemic crisis, climate change is not the thing that people are talking about, because it's not in front of our face like this pandemic is in front of our face. And the question's always asked, well, what if how do we get climate change discussed like this pandemic?
Right. Isn't that it? It's like, oh my God. And I remember there were times we said, you know what we need? We need the right-sized emergency to wake us up. Right. And as I look at this, and when I try to put as good a spin on this as I can, because I think it's important too to dare to feel into what possibly good could come of all this. What's the good story that we could hold also? There's easy to find the bad story, right? It's easy to go down that road. And I know I've been in that spot for a long time, but now it's like, what good? How can I hold this, right? And what is this pandemic doing? This pandemic has done the most amazing job of waking us up to the fact that we all affect everything, right? We're all in it together in a way that affects everything, and borders don't stop climate change and nationalities and language or any of that our climate is shifting, and we need to come together, and we can make, what this has proven is we can make drastic changes in the way we are holding ourselves. Now, whether or not that changes the climate game or not is not the question, right? We can just sit with, we can make rapid changes and just be with that for a moment, that our society is not quite as set in stone as we made it out to be.
Although those people that are out there, protesting to go back to work and not wearing masks, not doing anything, they are having a very hard time. And I understand the financial part. It's the most difficult time we've ever lived through to see this.
It is, and like so many of us, who see the wave of climate change being so much larger, lurking in the background, right? It's
Yes.
like, well, here we are. We're getting the public awakened to some sense of community involvement in all of it. This everybody affects it, and because jumping from I've never heard of abrupt climate change to abrupt climate change is a huge step, right? And so a lot of people would take steps along the way, and there were so many great movies and documentaries and things that help people kind of step along. What a way to go at the end of the empire, Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth, all these things that were things that people could hold on to, something that people could take a step at least. It wasn't the full answer. Clearly, it wasn't the full answer, but we're not about, or from my perspective, it wasn't about going from 0 to 100. We were never going to do that. Nobody's doing that. People are just taking on a little bit at a time, and when they try to take on too much, their body doesn't let them have it. There was that whole book, Climate Change, Don't Even Think About It. Right? That there's physiologically in us a block that says, if you're trying to rock my status quo too much, I won't let you take it in. Right? Because it would just be too hard on the system. And everybody has a different sense of what that is. So people are progressing along the route as they do, little by little, a lot by a lot. And now here comes COVID, because we just weren't getting it. Clearly, we just weren't getting it with climate change.
Yeah.
And so.
Peter, one thing that occurs to me is that this whole coronavirus, COVID, lockdown, complete paradigm shift that we're in, to me, it feels kind of like a dress rehearsal for the actual more severe crisis that is going to be happening to everybody on Earth when this climate crisis really comes in. And that is going to bring up a huge amount of grief. So could you talk about your work and what your response is to this incredible demise and grief that kind of permeates and comes into us when we take this on? And what's your response to that?
Yeah, thanks. Whew, my response is everybody take a breath and shake themselves out a little bit here, because we're going in, right? That's what this show is about. We're going to sink into these deeper feelings. And even going back a few years, as we are urging forward this, we're going to need to know how to grieve, right? Carolyn Baker playing such a big part in that role. And I got the honor of working with her for a year, to being close with her and learning and watching her do her thing, and everybody's different angle on how do we do this. And Francis Weller and Stephen Jenkinson and these leaders who were saying, we're going to need to have the ability to grieve. We're going to need to be able to deal with our status quo getting rocked. Maybe you want to prepare in advance, right? And so those of us who've been feeling into this and living into this and grieving into this are pre-coded, I think was your word, Jennifer. We've been pre-coded to at least be with the fact that this virus has come. And okay, this is kind of what we thought, some dominoes were going to fall. Of course, we didn't know which ones. Geographically for people or how it was going to work, but dominoes were going to fall, and when they fell, then we were going to be dealing with a new way of life. Things we weren't going to have all the luxuries. We were going to be tested with our conveniences, with our commercialism, with our consumerism, with all of these quote unquote building blocks of our society were going to get rocked, and now they're getting rocked. So we're getting this test run, and people are obviously way into grief, way into who am I? How do I reinvent myself? My business isn't going to be around anymore, or my whole industry is up for grabs, or how do I deal with homeschooling my kid while I'm trying to reinvent myself, while I'm dealing with not knowing what to do and my mom is ill, or whatever, right? That people are juggling so many things. And so I have such compassion, and I want to pause for a second, because I got to admit, I'm in a very privileged place. I'm in a very lucky Goldilocks zone where I don't have a lot of stressors in my personal life, but I know there's a lot of people who do. And those people don't necessarily have the luxury to sit here on a Saturday night and talk about how do I feel. That's a luxury, but at the same time, it's a very important aspect that amidst the worry and amidst the uncertainty, these kinds of feelings will emerge in people. What about grief? What about massive changes to my life? What about how scared I am about loved ones? And we're being dared to look deeper inside ourselves, which calls on this ability to grieve, this ability to look at death, this ability to look at uncertainty, and this ability to question, what do I think's even going on? Right? What is my bigger spiritual perspective on what I think this whole thing even is? This whole life thing, right? And some people are really drawn to explore that, and some people are totally not drawn to explore that. And okay, again, I back up to we're all on individual rite of passage, and I have no idea what yours is, but I'm happy to talk about it with you, and I'll share mine if that might help somebody. Somebody can get one nugget out of something I say. They might think most of it's full of shit, but I get a nugget somewhere that says, oh, that makes sense to me. I'll take that. So just take what feels good and leave the rest as we all dare to explore this incredibly shifting time.
Yeah.
That it is. And it when you talk about the stressors, I see that the stressors, what adds to people, then they act out in all kinds of ways that, well, we aren't used to, people going out there with guns, standing on the Capitol steps with their guns and all. I mean, it's crazy time. It's crazy time.
Yeah.
And look at what happened the other day. Maybe I'm bringing up, but the kid that gets murdered in broad daylight out jogging in Georgia. I mean, these are things you see, you read, and we all know, bottom line, that we are in a predicament that I personally don't think we're going to get out of, but I am solution focused, and I like to talk about all kinds of things, but I do miss having that spiritual piece that you both bring to me. I really like this. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day on interview, it's like, what are you certain about right now in these days and times? And I'm like, wow, what a great question.
What are you certain about?
What are you certain about? Because obviously there's so much uncertainty and we have no idea, that I'm like, well, let me try to unpack that for myself. It used to feel like life was like I'm on a hike and I can see miles into the distance and there's the beautiful hills and trees and that there was a lot of future focus. And when the virus hit and we were all asked to be home, it's like it got very foggy. The future got very foggy. And there was no reason to look out into it because it's all foggy. And so it brought the moment into perspective. It's like all I can do is focus on this one step right now, right? This is a jagged, rocky path that I'm on, and I have to pay attention to my footsteps because it just makes no sense. I can't even see into the future. And I realized how much focus I had on future. And so it brought it really present, and that brings spirituality in for me because as humans, as we explore, we get so much time spent in past and future when so many spiritual traditions invite us to be present, right? The be here now, right? Be here now. I got a nice little plaque. It's on the wall that says be here now, but do I ever actually do that? What does that even mean? How do I even slow
Jennifer,
down?
What does that mean for you, be here now?
Well, it means that you can't really construct your life around all your plans and all your strivings and who you're going to be in the future and what you're going to do in the future. You just have to appreciate the moment as it is right now and feel the magic in the moment. And there is an eternality in every moment. And just that's like an assemblage point. It's a point that you can put your brain, which is, you're not so locked into the cognitive space. You kind of shift your attention into kind of more of a spiritual or an emotional space that is still, you know, and kind of appreciating it that way. So that's what it means to me, Sandy. It means getting rid of all the mundane stuff and all our plans and all our boredom and all our terror and all our happiness, everything, and just appreciate the eternality that we are experiencing in every moment of our lives. And by letting all these other things kind of like fall away, you feel the magic that is inherent in our human experience. It rehumanizes you.
Wow. Thank you. Both of you. That was really, that was the right question. I guess, I don't know if I have an answer. I don't know. I am struggling with being in the here and now at times, but I have had, I guess, I have epiphanies every week on something, you know.
Yeah.
I just love a lot of people and a lot of things, and I don't feel negative. I don't even feel scared. I feel more sad at the state of the planet. I feel more, but I can't do anything right now about it. So yeah, Jennifer, I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to think about how to keep myself conscious. A friend that's in the group with us.
Let me say, to be honest though, in order to kind of have that sort of abandon, you have to have your personal situation not be too hugely stressful. It's hard to have that kind of abandon when you've lost your job. It's hard to have that kind of leaping for joy when you don't know if you're going to make the payment on your rent. You know, that is real stress. That is the kind of stress that makes your hair fall out. You know, really.
Oh, Jennifer.
Yeah, I mean, you honestly, because it hits you at that bottom layer, that survival layer. You know, all these greater thoughts, you know, in this kind of, you know, pyramid of mind and stuff like that. It's all built upon physical security and addressing that basic fear. Now, if your physical security is threatened, I'm sure you can still be here now, but it's a lot harder, to be honest.
I try. Jean says, or like Sandy, who's in constant pain, like everybody on this channel hears me ad nauseum knows. But I still do it. You know, I still have a purpose, and that's the thing.
You
Peter
do.
And Jennifer, both of you, and there's Wendy, who's in the audience on YouTube, who's completely blew me away. How she is an amazing spiritual person. I've known her since year zero. We were babies, and if Wendy, you're still here, just put up a comment. But she's incredible, an incredible person. So I guess I think being in the now for me, too, is actually surrounding myself with incredible people. You know, no more toxicity. Yeah. I've gotten rid of toxic people.
Hey, real quick, I just noticed Peter. on the Facebook thread, this Keith, thanks for writing in. I have no job, no money, no assets, just the clothes I stand in, and this is the first time I feel at peace.
Keith, right? We love you too.
That we've completely, you know, if we dare to slow down and take apart what we think we made peace into, right? What do we even think peace is? And we're so warped. I mean, our species is such an interesting little thing. We'll go down in history.
Interesting little thing that just happens to be the most destructive
species
thing
we turned out to be. Right? Yeah. It's like, but there's a place. There's this, and Jennifer, you were pointing at this. In the moment, there's lasting peace. Right? You play with the time-space continuum a little bit because the moment, quote unquote, doesn't last. But if you're able to remain in the moment, and then the next moment comes, and the next moment comes, that there is lasting peace when you can realize that this moment is all there is. And right now, I am where I am, and I touch base with my senses, and this is where it becomes a full body thing. And one thing I like to do is a sensory scan when I'm not feeling present. It's like, okay, what am I hearing? That bird. What am I smelling? It looks like somebody's cooking something over there. what's the flavor in my mouth? Oh, is that iced tea? Right. That your senses and doing a sensory scan can bring you to boom, just give you a chance to go, oh yeah, okay, I'm here now. And there are all these worries for sure, and everybody has them. There are all these worries that are lurking to be paid attention to. And we've been so caught up in peace equals me having some sense of safety into the future.
Yeah.
Right? Me lining things up so I feel better about I feel like I'm going to be safer in the future. And while it's important to pay attention to your future, when your presence gets lost to the future, then you've lost it. You don't even have the chance to be present to your senses and who you are and what you are now, because you're caught up in how am I going to line things up? And it's in our language all over the
Yes.
place.
Oh my gosh, how am I going to line things up? I have been through something in the last year, and that's exactly it. It's like the rug gets pulled out from under you, and oh my gosh. But I've recently realized I can't live worried. I can't live even, I could die tomorrow, and I keep saying that in my live streams. I mean, after this whole thing has just made me realize I'm expendable. Something's going to happen to me, and all that worry for what? So hell with it.
That's it. That's
Just
it.
enjoy. And you come
Yeah.
into my life for a reason. Everybody comes into each other's lives. Jennifer, we've touched each other. Peter, you've touched Jennifer. Carolyn, it's a family. And everybody out
And I know both of you in person, and that's such a gift. And we never would have had that. And I felt immediate kinship with both of you. We never would have had that if it hadn't been for these different internet communities. So it's really important to stress that these can actually translate into real physical friendships, real support structures, real joys, real loves.
I want to bring up something really quick that Jean said about Keith and make sure, because he did bring it. Are we moving on? What about Keith? Sounds like he needs help as a money. Keith is part of our community. Keith, let's ask you. Keith, do you need help? Can we do anything for you? Because you're part of this community. He lives on a bush island with abundant bird and wildlife. So Jean, who has a beautiful heart from Costa Rica, see, that's it. This is caring. This is a really caring, beautiful broadcast tonight. Keith, you let us know. And Wendy says sensory scan grounds us to the present moment. I need a lot more of this.
Well, good job bringing it into your life, right? So stay present. Don't say I need more of it later.
Right.
Be with it now. Be with it now. Breathe with it now. Take a big old breath right now and say, wow, I'm here now. I'm feeling this now, right now. See, and just soak into that. And this is why so many cultures talk about meditation and slowing things down. And our species has just got faster and faster and faster. And the wheels are coming off. And now COVID gives us a chance to slow down, and it's weird for a lot of people, but people who meditate or people who have slower lifestyles are like, okay, I can sink in even deeper now.
Well,
right?
I've heard a lot of sheltering in place success stories. It's like, well, this is not really a hardship. I'm getting more done. My sister, for example, she works for a big financial institution downtown London in the UK, and she has like a 2-hour commute, including, car to the train station to London, train station to the tube, and then walk to the office, and then do the whole thing in reverse times 5, plus lunches out, and that's expensive. And she says she's saving £1,000 easily a month, and she's doing better at work, and she's spending more time with her family, having a lot more really quality time, cooking with her partner, having fun with the child, and she's much, much happier with this shelter in place going on. And I think our lives have just gotten too crazy. We weren't meant to be abusing ourselves day after day after day, just to keep a roof over our head and to keep us fed and have a few toys. I mean, really, that's all most of us want. We're pretty simple creatures when it comes right down to it. And I think this COVID thing has actually reset us. I mean, it's been like a giant retreat for humanity, for a lot of humanity. A lot of humanity is sheltering in place, and that's just about to come to an end. But I think there's going to be a big corporate reset because of this, you know?
And those people that haven't been sheltering, that have been making it so that
Oh,
we all
yes.
could. I mean, there's
Oh,
just
yes.
there's no more. I can't even express my gratitude, knowing the kind of people that are doing what they're doing on the front lines, and public servants, and even my husband, who's going to work, who's cleaning, who's goddamn janitor. He's a janitor, maintenance in a school. He's got a job, but there's no kids there. But I said it to him, you're the front line. You're going to be making those kids safe. You know, you're cleaning that school, just like the people that are out there in New York City disinfecting the subways. These are the heroes.
Right. And notice
And
how
we're
we're
just
slowing down.
home.
Notice how we're slowing down and appreciating. Oh my God, I never really realized how much I took for granted. The person who cleaned, the person at the grocery store, the person
Yeah.
who's doing all these other, well, obviously the healthcare people who are having to put themselves in harm's way, right? Every day. They were doing that all the time beforehand too, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're so good at taking things for granted and just charging forward and moving into the future. How do I set myself up for the future? How can I make that seem safer? That we blinded ourselves. We kept narrowing the little peephole until all we could see was this tiny thing that said, take care of whatever I don't feel comfortable about now, and let's see if we can do something to set up the future. And never the time to go, wow, that guy goes to work every day so that I have a place that I
Absolutely.
can go, right? Every day doing that. And so many of these essential workers are doing it for such low money. And now folks are
Yeah, tell
finding
me
out,
about it.
parents are finding out how important the teachers were, right? And how important the school system was to care for their kids. And it's just fascinating to watch people go, wow.
Yeah. And also, Peter, I don't know if you find it, but I just like people are being a lot friendlier, like a ton friendlier. Like it's hit the compassion thread in so many people. People you wouldn't normally even say hello. You just like hello to everybody, hello in the grocery store, and you connect. There's this little moment when you look at them and you connect, and you're all going through kind of the same thing. And I think that commonality is what, and because the seriousness of it, and that commonality creates an immediate, just quick little connection. Have you seen that?
Oh my
Been
God.
out much.
In spades. I mean, even as little, so I live with my mother and we walk around in the neighborhood, right? And we see people who we've never seen before. And it's not just, oh, hey, that's somebody who lives in the neighborhood, about 100 houses in our neighborhood. And it's like, hi, how you doing? Right? Where do you live? Right? And people genuinely caring about other people. And are you okay? And how's your mom? And, all these different things. So we've slowed down enough.
Yeah.
Again, it's all about slowing down to go, wow, I guess maybe my neighbors might be important somehow. And I miss the human contact of all the people I usually ran off and go to see. And now you're the one who's in front of me now.
Yeah. I don't see
And back
anybody
to
much.
now.
You
Well,
have neighbors. I don't see anybody. This is my family going online. I really haven't. In town maybe I've been out shopping twice. We kind of have everything we needed, but it is okay. Have people been nicer? Not online, but
Oh, well, that's hilarious, isn't it?
online is the
Oh,
the
goodness.
anonymous place to be the nastiest, ugliest thing inside you. What is it that comes out of you? It's that
It's the same syndrome that people have when they get behind a wheel of a car. Nicest person, put them behind the wheel, wheel of a car, and all of a sudden personality change, and they feel like they've got this big thing, and it gives them, license to be a complete asshole.
I think that's what happens
Well,
online.
Sandy, do you notice yourself being nicer?
I'm always nice, except you have to
Very-
ask Doug. I'm not always nice to him, but that's because marriage is not an easy thing. And two people that have had a lot of stress in their lives, and we are just coming back together. Actually, we're trying to really learn how now to deal with it better, because there's decisions in our life that have to be made, and I guess it's, not being angry at something you can't control anymore. You have no
Right,
control.
right. There you go. So 2 points. So, talking about getting in a car or being online, if somebody seems to be stopping you or slowing you down from your quest to get to that future, right? Then you get bothered. I'm on my way somewhere. And if you're slowing me down, then I'm mad at you for slowing me down because you're impinging on my future, me the way I've tried to line up my future. Instead of being in the moment, I love this because I have the luxury of driving. I love to drive and let people make bad choices. I'm like, wow, interesting choice. I hope you make it to where you're going because you seem to be struggling with your driving. I'm glad you missed me, right? It's like, because I focus as much as I can on whatever's right now. And if what's right now is some guy who's parked at the light and not going when it's green, it's like, okay, he's not going, right? I'm not trying to get to my destination. I'm right here.
Yeah, I don't
And
get mad at driving. That's my husband does. He's an aggressive, horrible driver. It sounds like you're not.
I'm not.
Sounds like you're. And
But
Jennifer, I bet you're just the coolest driver. I mean, we're still all driving. We're still all using fossil
We
fuels.
all have our moments, right?
Yeah.
We all have our moments.
oh, clearly we do. And then we try to catch ourselves. And this is the other thing about slowing down is that you can catch yourself when you get triggered by something. And to know that these days and times are going to trigger a lot more in a lot of people. So we got to be, those of us who are sensitive that way, be even more sensitive and empathetic to our fellow brothers and sisters, because you have no idea what they're going through, right? No idea. And that's true every day, but it's just especially true now. And you hit on something, Sandy. You said, I have no control over it anyway. Right. And this is that surrender piece. This is that letting go, that we've never had any control. We have this illusion that oh, I'm going to live to 80 and die a peaceful death in my house with my family. That's the picture down the road somewhere. But obviously, every day that unfolds differently for people. And but we want to control. We're still wanting to control something in the future that we have absolutely no or very, very, very little control over.
You're
But
right.
that's a major surrendering. But it's a surrendering to the moment. Right? When you forget it, when you're able to let go of what is going to be happening in the future, that's one of the key steps to becoming present. Right? And I think this is why the pray is like this, is that not past, not future, present. That this is now. And this is why we clap also. Now, 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 now. Right? We're happy. Something now happened. Right? It's like here, now. That this idea that we're separate from the now, or separate from each other, or separate from anything, is the illusion that we made up and bought into, as I see it, right? And here's where I take my deepest spiritual place, is that when we dare to know ourselves beyond our humanity, right? We've been so brainwashed and marinated into, I'm Peter the body trying to navigate this crazy world and hope to have a nice life.
Peter the body.
Right?
For the body.
Right.
Okay.
And right behind there is Peter, the humanity, right? That humanity is moving through me, the whole species, and then the whole Earth family is moving through me, and then the whole Earth, right? Earth is earthing through me, in the same way that the Earth grows a flower. The magic that grows a flower is growing me, right? But we got these crazy brains that make us think all different crazy ideas about what's going on. But when we can slow down and go beyond our humanity, I'm earthing, I'm humaning, but then even further, because if I'm the earthing, then I'm also the earth sun happening, right? If the earth doesn't fall in love with the sun, none of this happens, right? This amazing cosmic event where these space body rocks, stars are flying around, right? The cosmos is spluing into the universe and galaxies are forming, right? And
Yeah.
galaxies are swirling into place. And amidst those galaxies, solar systems are swirling into place. And amidst that, our little Earth rock finds the sun and starts circling the sun. They start going around, right? They fall in love with each other. And if not for that, none of this happens. But we completely lose sight of the 14 billion year miracle that it took to get us here, right? Take that in. Take that in. You are 14 billion years of what we think we know anyway, 14 billion year expression of the universe urging itself forward. And somewhere within that urging was the knowingness that cosmos might cosmos and galaxies might galaxy, right? And solar systems might solar system, and Earths might connect with suns, and Earths might connect with elements that might create life. And that life might urge itself forward in all different forms. And those forms may someday come out of the ocean and someday form into humans and someday be me. Right? And here's the 14 billion year story going blah.
14
Right? Here it
billion
is.
years.
14 billion years since the start of the universe.
Wow.
That's alive in me. In the birth of the universe was the possibility that we would have this conversation. Right? And all possibilities. And that's what the universe is up to. It's daring to try everything. And so there's every different kind of person and every different kind of animal and every different kind of plant. The universe is saying, what else could we do? What else? What else? What else? And when we can slow down and remember that that's what we are, we're the magic of the universe, 14 billion years proof. Everything had to happen the way it happened or I wouldn't be here. If the asteroid does not strike in the Yucatan 65 million years ago, none of this happens.
Yeah.
None of this happens. Humans don't just all of a sudden grow up and play with dinosaurs.
And
None of
isn't
this
it
happens.
amazing? But isn't it amazing that we have that from all that, the brains and the scientific inquisitiveness to understand and learn it? It's a curse and it's a blessing at the same time because of what we've done as human beings, what we've done in the negative to the planet. But there's so much affirmative that we've done too.
Well, let's dare to go into that. Let's dare to go into that because it's easy to hold ourselves. It's one thing to say, damn, humans really fuckered up, right? Excuse me, whoever was offended by that.
It's fucking fine on this channel.
humans really messed this up.
Mm-hmm.
And I could feel really bad about what I did as a human. I was part of this. I may have very well thrashed the whole planet and all the other planet mates that are on it. And if the nuclear power plants go berserk, which of course they will have to at some time, that may be all of life on Earth, right? And anything that resembles life on Earth. And so when you connect with that possibility, it's like, well, wait a minute. Yes, that's true. But also life decided that anything and everything could happen, right? This isn't a bad human kind of moment entirely. This is a species that came to be and tried to do what they tried to do. We dared to try to progress. We dared to try, a lot of people link it back to when we stored agriculture, right? When we stored up food, we grew, and we stored more food, and storing food made growing more. And in doing that, we didn't realize what we were doing. It seemed like beautiful convenience. It seemed like a wonderful way to be. And now we get far enough down the road that we awaken to the reality, oh my goodness, that wasn't a very good road to go on, right? We awaken to every possible road was presented by our creative universe, said, try as you may, do what you think you want to do. And we did. And here we are. So while we were part of it as humans, and we made the choices we made, and they've led us here, we were also part of the 14 billion year story that said, do everything and see what happens. Right? And so I dare to hold that truth for myself too, and for all my brothers and sisters and all the people I want to point at, because it's real easy to point at some people and some leaders and some different things and say, you're doing it. But they're doing it as the human family. They're doing it as the 14 billion year story coming through them. And so that shifts the whole dynamic. I can see you both kind of going, whoa, okay, right? It's
No,
like,
I'm into it. I'm also at the same time looking at the chat, seeing what's going on in there, and it was interesting because you mentioned the nuclear plants, and we have someone here who is a pro-nuclear energy, thinks, and is the person that feels that nuclear energy can be a big solution because it's not burning carbon. And he said, you lost credibility by saying that. And I put in, well, wait a minute, it could happen. And then he said, we exploded hundreds of bombs in the atmosphere and somehow we're still alive. And I just said, it's a possibility because it's a possibility. But that was interesting. Do you have a view? Is it a viewpoint? Are you an activist in that?
My understanding of the depth of what we were just talking about, the story that's unfolding, puts me in a place where I just honor everybody's position. You know, I don't know how we're going to get ourselves out of this, or even if we could, or if nuclear is better than coal or biomass or electric or solar, right? We're just trying everything.
Yeah,
and we don't know.
We do.
But if we can dare to back up a couple steps and look at our culture, right? And this is what Planet of the Humans stirred up in so many people. It's like, wait a minute, you can't tell me that this isn't working. It's like, and they didn't quite go deep enough, in my opinion. I look forward to the documentaries where they go the next level. Wait a minute, we really got to dare to look at how we are doing humanity, right? Have we ever, and what's that quote, Farley Mowat? We think we're a good species going somewhere important. It's delusional. We've never even stopped to say, what is humanity? What is this species? Who are we? What does it mean to be a dominant species on a planet? What should we do? What would be a good thing for us to do? What would be a good goal to have, right? I don't know that our species has ever stopped to ponder, what is it that we're even up to?
With all that magnificence of 14 gazillion years ago, and here we are pondering why.
Yeah, the fascination, because we're still fascinated with all of it, right? When we can slow down enough and say, oh my God, there's a million things happening in my body right now that I have absolutely no knowledge or control over, right? And my heart beats by itself. I don't tell it to beat. We take a zillion breaths every day, or maybe not a zillion. We take a whole bunch of breaths every day that we're never saying, okay, breathe in, breathe out. We're being breathed. We are being heartbeated. We are being lived. We are earthing through us, right? And everybody is trying to make it work for themselves. And some people think solar panels are the answer, and some people think nuclear energy. That's the minutia. And that's that's not the place I care to play very much. I dare to be the one who says, back up and let's look at the bigger picture.
Okay. Jen, what do you think the bigger picture is?
Well, I think that one thing that Peter brings to the table is he brings a sense of frivolity almost. That he has this thing when he does storytelling, that he tries to get people in touch with the lighter side of their personality, because we all are overly ponderous a lot of times, either overly ponderous or tuned out, like blanked out, watching too much TV, not thinking about things, And I think that one thing Peter brings to the table is that sense of joy and connectedness, And
I like it.
Can you talk a little bit about that, Peter? Because I think you really do bring that.
Thank you. Those are the cards I got, right? Those are the cards I was dealt for whatever combination of reasons. Middle child, Libra, loved to play games by myself, loved to try to make sense of things, started wanting to tell stories, started wanting to try to explain things in a way that could be understood. And then those turned into stories, and then those turned into different ideas, and this remembering that, of course, it's all connected. Of course, there's no way that it's not. We're fish in the fishbowl saying, what water are you talking about? Right? Because we've tricked ourselves so beautifully into thinking that we're separate. And this is the deep spiritual stuff that what I think is going on in my own way to put a story together to where it could somehow make sense is that there's an infinite timeline going on, that we have tricked ourselves into this illusion of linear time. But infinity exists in my experience or in my understanding. And so within this infinity, if you imagine the infinity loop, right? If you stretched out the middle of the, like if it was a rubber band like that, you stretched out the middle, we've created the illusion of time to trick ourselves to think that we're not infinite, that life isn't just an infinite expression happening throughout the cosmos, that it's this tiny birth and death thing, right? And so we've tricked ourselves into time. And if we could, and that we agreed, we as cosmic life said, let's go try it. Let's go try it. Let's go try what it might be like to completely forget that we're infinite and that we're connected, and let's just see what happens, right? We're infinite life playing a game with itself, as I see it. And we chose to forget. We chose to say, let's see what happens if we forget. And we'll remember occasionally we'll have these moments where we think we see through the veil or we're really clear. But then as soon as you do that, you get a glimpse and then it closes and the reset button gets pushed and you get a parking ticket and all of a sudden you're pissed off again, right? It's like, because that's that this whole thing, as I see it, is a game of remembering and forgetting. And we chose to forget. You get shot down into being in the body, right? A little slice of infinite goes boop, oh, here I am. Oh, my name's Peter. Oh, I'm doing this and that and the other thing. And I completely forgot. Or when we're kids, maybe we think we know for a minute or two, but then it gets programmed out of us, right? And here we are playing the forgetting game and occasionally remembering. And then when we die, as I see it, when I die, I'm going to start laughing, right? That because we'll go back to the infinite place. We'll go back to the infinite place we never left, right? And I wrote a story about that called Waves of Oneness, where two waves talk to each other, like as if waves took on human consciousness, right? Hey, what are you doing? Why are you following me? Right? Leave me alone. Quit chasing me. And it's like, dude, I'm just a wave, right? I'm just the ocean. And it's like, well, what ocean are you talking about? It's like this, the water, all of, it's like, what happens when we hit the shore? It's like, well, let's see, right? And a little wave goes into the shore and then it blends back into the ocean and it says, oh shit, I was the ocean the whole time. Ha, you got me, right? We punked ourselves. We punked ourselves perfectly. And we hid the magic in the one place we would never find it. We hid the magic everywhere. And here we are looking all over for something separate from the everywhere that we could identify as magic and try to connect with, whether it's with a person or another thing. And we hid it everywhere. And we totally forgot that we did that. And up in the infinite, on the infinite couch, we're cracking up right now, right? And oh, look at them trying to figure it out. Isn't that cute? Right? And look at how they forgot. And they'll remember when they come back later, and it'll be a big hoot later on. But that's how I see the story of stuff happening and how we got to here and how we dare to remember. And the latest thing that I'm really doing real quick, one more thing is that you put on the promo there, the unity sign that some of you see on the top there.
Yeah, we're going to have to get to that because we're almost at an hour.
Yeah. And so what happened to me way back in 1994, I went to Woodstock, the 25-year anniversary, and this dude comes up and he's like, peace, man.
Oh, I went. Wait.
Were you there?
94?
1994?
Oh, heck yeah, I was.
25? In the mud? Playing in the mud?
Yeah, in the mud. I had a great time with my dearly departed girlfriend, Sue. Oh, my God. Yeah. It was a good time.
I had
You were there too,
huh? Time too. It was like I got married naked in the mud at Woodstock. It was
in 94? Really?
In 94.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was someone I just met, but she was wonderful, and she's still in my life. She tracked me down. Hi, CJ. She tracked me down on YouTube, on Facebook. She goes, "Is this the Peter from Woodstock, 1994?"
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
How in the world did you find me? And she's like, I remembered your name.
Wait,
and 25
I remember. No. Wait, what band was playing?
Anyway, it's like, he shows me this peace sign, right? He's like, peace, dude. And I'm like, ugh, that does nothing for me anymore. This just has become so, in my world, washed out. People just do it. Hey,
I
right?
do
Or
it
it
because
means,
I feel it,
yeah.
but I like your
Well,
unity
there you
sign.
go.
And you know what? I think your unity sign and teaching us how to do it and the meaning of it is a great way to close because we've been an hour. But
Okay. So
what do
here's
you
how it
say,
works. So
Jen?
I thought, how could we, or sorry, Jen, did you want to say something?
No,
I was
I'm
just asking
good.
her if she agreed with me.
Yeah. I'm like, how what could be a new peace sign, right? What's this next energy that's beyond peace? Because just getting along is not going to do it, right? Two sides thinking that they need to figure out how to get along is not doing it. We've been a peace movement for 50 years and we're at more war than we've ever been. Okay, so it's not
True.
working, and we need to dare to look at that. So
That's
what would
true.
be next? And through 26 years of incantations has finally ended in what I call the unity sign, which starts with the old two-finger peace sign. But now this stands for we used to think we were separate from each other, from the planet, from our choices, from our future. We used to think we were separate. We are remembering, so the two fingers come together and come toward your heart. We are remembering right now. This is what we can do right now. We can remember that I'm so much more than Peter the human. I'm this cosmic story unfolding, and it comes to our heart. So we thought we were separate. We remember we're connected, and here in the heart is where we know that. And when we come from that heart-based unity consciousness, we can act peacefully on the planet. Right? So 2 to 1 to heart, heart to 1 to 2.
2 to 1 to heart, heart to 1 to
To
2.
1 to 2.
I
Right?
got it.
Boom, you got it. And so we can
I've
signal
only been
each
trying
other.
for a week.
We can remind each other and remind ourselves, right? Talk about being present. Yes, I'm all of it. We're all in this together, and I'm going to act that way. Right? Is a very bring it to the moment. And in this day and age with the coronavirus where we can't connect with each other physically, this can be another way for us to say, I feel you, I love you, I'm here, we're in this together, right? And the world is now awakening. There's a listening to this idea that we're all in this together that there's never been before. And now we're ready to remember how connected we are and to begin to act from that connected place and to deal with the issues of the day, including our climate crisis, from a place of togetherness, even with people we disagree with somehow magically. This is the evolution. This is the consciousness shift that is happening right now as we speak. It's happening. And we're going to give it a whirl to see how much we can evolve and in front of our very eyes in the next chapters here that are unfolding.
So, so Peter, do you see us evolving? Do you see awareness opening and changing?
So I have two ways of answering that. So let's assume for the first way that this thing goes down, right? The whole thing goes down, whether it's 2 years or 20 years, the collapse happens and it all goes down and it's down. Well, then whatever that, as that starts to happen, as the dominoes begin to fall, people are going to get deep with their bad selves, right? You want to talk to come to Jesus moment. You want to talk about being forced fed into your spiritual evolution. When things really start crashing, people are going to be opening themselves up to the universe. And this awareness will be ready and already growing because the early adopters are already moving it forward and putting us in position. So when things start to go down in that story, we will evolve as much as we possibly can in those years of collapse, and we will awaken to whatever level we awaken to, and humanity will have finished its game, if you will, having awoken to, at a minimum, oh yeah, we were all in this together and we didn't quite remember that fast enough, right? That maybe that's as far as we evolve. Maybe that's as far as the consciousness shift goes in the worst case scenario. But in the best case scenario, maybe this awareness raising happens and the earth is part of who we are. And we are the earth earthing. And the earth says, you know what? They're getting it. You know what? We're getting it. I'm getting it because the earth isn't separate from us, right? The earth goes, hey, we're figuring some things out. Maybe I can adjust a little, right? Maybe the earth could help us. It's not beyond the earth if you believe it's a living energy. The earth could help. And maybe we buy ourselves some 20 years somehow magically. And through those years, we're able with this awareness raising because the earth is now helping us. This awareness raises and we start doing things differently. And maybe there's a mini die off, if you will, or we lose some chunks of things or half of it or whatever. But we find a place where humanity evolves into a new thing, and we come up with new ideas that allow us to buy 20 more years somehow, with the earth changing and the earth decides to not to freeze itself in the Arctic, right? That the earth makes some changes. And I grant there's some fairy tale aspect to this, but maybe not. Maybe the earth can shift, and it's not about humans changing. It's about the earth making a change, or who knows, right? Miracles can happen, and the earth is a living being, if you choose to believe that. I do, that the earth is alive. And so maybe we have a longer chance to evolve further, and perhaps that turns into humanity continuing in some magical way, or making it for 50 more years when we thought we only had 5, right? But whatever it is, humanity will have evolved to whatever degree it has. And there you have it. We did the best we could, right?
We did. Do you think we did the best we could?
Well, here's what hit me, and why I say that. This is a random experiment, Sandy, Jennifer. We're doing the best we can every day, all of us, right? Everybody's making the best choice they know how to make in that moment, based on what happened to them and what they're afraid of and what they're happy about. And everybody's doing the best they can. And now we're trying to make 7.7 billion parts somehow move in unison. And that's pretty tricky. And there's no instruction guide, right? And so the randomness of the universe is happening through us all. And we're doing the best that we can. And here's the vision that I had that helped me know this. I had a dream early on in my knowing of the collapse and climate crisis, that I showed up at this auditorium, and on my shirt, on my thing, I had this plaque that said humanity, right? I was humanity showing up in what seemed like heaven, right? But what was an auditorium full of energy and beings. But I'm like, hi, humanity here, right? And everybody turns and looks, and I'm like, so sorry, am I in the right place? You know? And people and everything's just kind of looking at me. And it's like, humanity, you know, we blew up the earth. We're the ones who wiped out the planet. Sorry, you know? And there's this pregnant pause, and then all these beings stand up and start clapping, right? This standing ovation. And I'm at the back of this auditorium going, what the hell? This is not a standing ovation moment, people. The earth is thrashed. We killed it. And they're all cheering wildly and clapping. And then they stop, and the guy from up front with the microphone says, welcome, this party is for you, right? I'm like, what? Do you know, out of the thousands of tries we did with this experiment, you guys made it farther than any other experiment had ever made it? You created more beauty and more love and more connection than any other experiment of this nature ever has. Congratulations, right? And I had this whole consciousness shift around humanity as fucking asshole to humanity as we did the best we could, and actually we did okay, right? That any species as limited as us was going to have trouble, just like every other civilization has collapsed ahead of us. We don't have enough. We weren't given the tools to play this game forever. We were given the tools to play this game for a little while and try and see and experiment and see what happens. And that's what we've done. And here we are, in this exact spot right now. We've done what we've done, and here we are.
Wow. Well, at that note, I just have a couple of comments. George Sacrilitis is with us, and he said,
Hi, George.
He's had enough hopium, but I don't know if Peter, if what you're talking about is hopium, or is it just that we have what we have and we might as well. I mean, to put it simply, just make the best of it.
or dare to create a story for yourself.
Yeah. That
you believe in, that makes you feel however you want to feel. It's real easy to say we're terrible and we ruined it. And I saw somebody say, no way that we were good. That's an easy story. I know that story. I believe that story. I don't have hopium that we're solving this. I have now where I'm able to hold two paradoxical ideas at the same time and hold them both, that we're going down and somehow we did better and it lasted another 50 years and then we did better and who knows what from there. Right? I can hold both of those stories at the same time with this knowingness that regardless of how the story plays out, I am reporting back to the universe right now this beautiful knowing of this moment and this feeling I have with you guys, and knowing that there's people listening and feeling whatever they're feeling, and just daring to share how the universe is moving through me right now, right or wrong, left or right, doesn't matter. It's just this is the flower that the universe is growing that we call Peter. Right? And there it is. And take what you like, leave the rest.
Take what
Have
you
a nice
like
day.
and leave the rest.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's just how it moves through me. And make your own dream. What'd Kermit the Frog say? Life's like a movie. Write your own ending. Keep believing. Keep pretending. We've done just what we set out to do. Thanks to the lovers, the dreamers, and you. Thank you very much.
Oh, that was really cute. That was really
The
cute.
Muppet movie, 1979. If you've never seen it, it's a beautiful movie.
And Jean, you know what? She has the most beautiful comment to end. It isn't that we are going to survive. We aren't. It is how we live in the time we have with love, compassion, humanity, and good music. And
Amen to that.
Yep. Jen, you got the last
Amen.
word tonight.
We're in it together.
I think that we've, kind of hit on a lot of really important thoughts here. And the most important of those is the moment now holds everything. And you just string all your nows together and it broadens your spectrum of existence, your spectrum of consciousness. And I think that's important if you're going to live a more unbounded life. Limitation and living in a box, it makes us feel sad, but if you can kind of dissolve the box and the barriers around you and connect with the hearts around you and form community where you find it. It doesn't have to be a family, a blood family. It can be anything, right?
Yeah, we take it all for granted. Yeah. I mean, you can't not be in community. Are there trees? Is there oxygen? Is your heart beating? Right? That we are community expressing, and we're looking out for community everywhere. Right? We've completely missed that life is beating my heart. There's a community of cells in my body that regenerate themselves every day so that I could be alive. But what the heck on that? That doesn't matter. Where's my calendar? Let's see what I was supposed to do today.
Well, as long as
Right?
we stay healthy, everybody in the audience is healthy, and all of us can meet again next week. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play, for those of you, I'm going to play the little video I put together, a vignette for Peter to end so you can finish up your chat. And guys, thank you so much for coming and being with us at Environmental Coffee House. It was really great. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, why not? And follow. Okay, so here we go, and good night, everybody. And wait, we do the unity to the heart, to out.
That's right. There it is.
Okay, I'm going to play the video for you guys that haven't seen it. Good night.
Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful.
My name is Peter Melton. I recently saw a show on Fridays for the Future, and it featured this group called earthheroes.org. They invited us to share our ideas, so here's mine. I have an idea for a new hand signal, a new way to tell each other that we get it, that we're in this together. I call it the unity sign. It starts with the two-finger peace sign. The fingers come together to your heart and then back out. It's called the unity sign, and what it stands for is we used to think we were separate from each other and from the planet, but we are remembering that we're one and that we're all in this together. And when we act from that connected place, we can create peace on the planet. Please share the unity sign, weave it into your own project, post your videos here and other places. We can start a wave of unity on this planet.
Extinction Rebellion, Santa Cruz, California. We are singing and dancing for the animals of all kinds, for the humans, young and old. Yes, indeed, Santa Cruz, California. This is Extinction Rebellion. We want to stay alive. We're willing to dance for life. Yes. Woo! zebras, chipmunks, little red foxes. Foxes, rainbow foxes. We got them all. Hey, here comes some more. Dance with us. Yes, indeed. We are dancing for life. We are in a climate emergency. We need to take action. One of the actions is we need to dress up and have fun, for God's sakes. We want to protect the planet so our animal friends can survive, so our oceans and ice caps can keep creating habitat for us all. Extinction Rebellion is a global movement that started in Europe. We have a big group here in Santa Cruz. Please pick up a flyer, stop by at the tent. There's a big event coming up on March 20th where we have local politicians, spiritual leaders, artists, writers, and a couple hundred of you and I to talk about this climate emergency. Figure out how we support each other. Staying alive.
Let's hear it for the animals!
Give it up for our animal kingdom. Yeah! All shapes and sizes and colors and furry stuff all over them.
Want to say hi?
Hello!